background, just observing and watching. And then we had a conversation. And in that conversation, I realized that this was a special person.
Mm.
He had a heart that was for others and cared very little about the impact on himself. Everything that he did was to benefit his soldiers, to make them better soldiers. He poured into their lives. And I'm speaking for my daughter. You poured into her life, right? You gave her guidance. Even when she would call me or something would happen, she would say, I already talked to Feaster, you know? And I'm okay, good. So I know you got some good solid guidance. And then as our friendship evolved, and he said, I'm going to school. So he went to school, then he finished school, and then he said, I'm going back to school. And no, I'm not going. I'm not doing this. I'm going back to school. And I don't remember what I said to you or how I said it, but it was pretty much like, go ahead and get this done. The longer we have this conversation, the more time you're wasting to get
Yeah.
this done. And then I saw something the other day that's that said you were more than 50%
Yes.
to the finish line.
Yes.
I think I
Yes.
said that looks like progress to me.
I
So
can,
I am. Go ahead.
I was going to say I could tell you what you said. Well, I may not be able to tell you exactly what you said, but I was on the phone fussing and upset and ready to leave Liberty because they had given me the runaround, and I was like, I'm done. I done already contacted other colleges. What I'm saying, they don't want my money, and you simply said, okay. What time does the administration office close? I said 8 o'clock. Okay, go ahead and give them a call. And I was like, I'm just done with them. Okay, you can be done with them, but this is what you want. So give them a call. And you calm me all the way down. And here I am over halfway finished with my degree
Yes.
at
Yes.
Liberty.
At Liberty. At Liberty. Yes. Absolutely. So I am thrilled to be here with you on today to celebrate you.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary to you and Marie. How many
Thank
years is this?
27.
Oh my goodness.
I know she been putting up with me a long time.
Mm. She's a special kind of woman, let me tell you.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, and Dr. Gregory, I know we are celebrating him today, but tell us just a little bit about you and a little bit about your business.
Sure, absolutely. So I have a bachelor's degree in general psychology and a master's degree in community clinical psychology. I always wanted to be a forensic psychologist, so that was the path that I had taken. Um, Life is what it is, and then I ended up in a counselor education and supervision program because my goal was that I was going to provide therapy. I was going to teach counselors to provide therapy to those that come to us seeking care, right? Soul care is what we call it. And then got to the end of that program with just a few credits left. And there was a change in the degree completion plan. And I said, this is not going to work. So I did not re enroll for my next class in my doctoral program at Liberty. My advisor called me and said, what about this? And she directed me to marriage and family. And I said, this is a topic that I am trying to stay away from. I'm okay with working with children, parents and their children, but I was not trying to move toward that marriage and family topic. And God, being who He is, um, did not give me the option to change His plan. So when I entered that program in August of 2016, I never imagined that I would be defending a dissertation in December of 2019. So less than 3 years, I worked through a doctoral program, a whole new doctoral program, wrote a dissertation and defended it at the beginning of December. So then, throughout that journey, Warren and I, we always talked. We always talked about where I was, what we were doing. We always shared information. And I knew, of course, for him, that's where his heart was as well. So I have, through this platform, had the opportunity to just talk about marriage, not just any type of marriage, but biblical marriage, right? Because you can have a marriage, but if that marriage is not rooted, grounded, mixed up, tied up, wrapped up in God, you just have a marriage, right? You won't have all those tools necessary to work through the challenges that you'll face within that relationship. So I still teach. I've been teaching for maybe 14, 15 years. I also teach at Liberty University in their doctoral program. From time to time, I will teach a master's level class. I told Feaster that, don't let me look up one day and find you sitting in my classroom. I'm excited about that. I have always been one to work a full-time job, which is helping students create a career pathway. Not everyone has, we don't all start the same, right? And because we don't all start the same, we get to the, different milestones in our lives at different times. And so the program that I work in is college and career readiness. And this allows anyone age 16 on up to come back to school, to get the necessary tools to either recreate themselves career-wise or learn some additional skills so that they can elevate higher in their current career field. And then I teach, so that gives me the balance that I need in life. It's a busy life, but it does give me the balance that I do.
And let me ask you this, Dr. Gregory. Tell me why just the marriage and family has become so important to you now. Because I know you said initially you were like, no. But tell me now why it is so important to you.
It's always been important, right? It's always been important, but it was a topic that I have avoided because I am a divorcee. So you always hear people in the church, especially, and there's a well-known pastor that will say, you can't, you're not married, then don't tell me about marriage. But that's not how God works, right? So he selects the ones that he can get the message out. Mm-hmm. And that's what I was battling against. And I've always known that African-American marriages suffer more than any other marriage among all the races. African-Americans, they have multiple marriages that fail. They have the first marriage that failed. They don't remarry. They have children, may have children from previous relationships or previous marriages that they're bringing to a new marriage. And it creates different dynamics that are challenging. And because African-Americans are rooted within biblical teachings and have for so many years looked to the Bible for guidance, but without considering how we got here, without considering the path of slavery and the reason that we respond the way that we respond. it has created a toll on our marriage, even during slavery times. The men were removed from the home, and the women were taught to take care of yourself, be able to take care of your family. But that's not what marriage is about. It's good. I'm not saying that it's not okay for a woman to know how to manage the household or the children, but that's not God's intention for marriage. God says, I'm going to give you this woman to help you, and I'm going to give you this woman to help you, and woman, I'm going to give you this man to help you, and together you come together to procreate.
Dr. Gregory, I'm gonna have to have you speak in several other platforms and do just a whole conversation and topic.
Yes.
Around that. Okay, yes, because that is so very important. I tell people that all the time. And I appreciate you sharing that and being so candid about why, initially you fought back with that. I will tell you, I too am a divorcee. However, I feel like I'm a pretty good person to ask about marriage because I've done it. I have some takeaways. You understand what I'm saying? I have some takeaways. I feel like I can give valuable insight as to some do's and don'ts, and maybe not. So I feel that absolutely is the case with your situation. You have like that inside track. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like you can look at it from two different spectrums. You understand what I'm saying? You've been married, you've been unmarried. So you have both of those tools to work with to be able to help those around you work within their relationship. And so I think that's great. So now let me ask you, before we go to our next guest, is there anything else that you want to say to Mr. Feaster today before we move on to the next guest? And then afterwards, make sure you let everyone know where to find you.
Sure, absolutely. Feaster, I'm just so proud of you. I knew that you could do this, and I know that you can do more. As you move into the next phase of Let's Talk Family, continue to seek God to let him direct you to those people that need to pour into your audience. There's always a need that you may not know about, but that one person that shows up will be able to meet that need. All right. So you can reach me. There's my email address is GregoryKimberly01@gmail.com. And my contact information for marital facilitation is www.https://tinyurl.com/Dr. Kimberly Gregory, Dr. Kimberly Gregory.
And we will be, our facilitator is going to drop, copy the links and drop them so that our audience will have access to the information. And yep, see, here we go. Look at it. She's on point, on time, on target every single time. Okay, so I just want to thank you very much, Dr. Gregory, for being here today. It was wonderful hearing from you. Thank you for keeping the secret, the little surprise that we had. And I look forward to seeing you again, and hopefully we'll be on another show together in the future. Thank you, Dr. Gregory.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
All right. So now, Warren, Mr. Bowtie Feaster, do you have any comments that you want to make prior to us going to our next guest?
Y'all started with a banger, so let's go.
All right. So now
she failed to mention that she's my mentor. She failed to mention that. I always like to say that.
Okay. Well, all right. So now our next guest is coming up. Are you ready, next guest, to come onto the platform? Drum roll.
Wow.
Hey,
Don't do that.
Mr. Warren Bowtie Feaster. I'm sorry about that. Got so caught up with Dr. Kimberly's session. I'm like, okay, she's all right. So how are you? And happy anniversary for your marriage and for the show. So I was just, honored to be a guest, and don't give up. I mean, your show is necessary, especially for times like this. It's about quality and not quantity, and you provide quality, and folks need to, realize and appreciate family. So, what you bring to the table is more important. So don't get discouraged, because when you start getting discouraged, that means, the devil is saying, okay, he's about to get a breakthrough. So let me discourage him so he won't, provide this information for the folks. So you're going to be all right. So keep it going, keep it flowing. And, the discouragement is just a way for you to fine tune how you're supposed to do it. So, the format you're talking about, maybe not having a guest every week or every episode, but providing your insight and then have a guest, but whatever the spirit would lead you on how you're supposed to do it. So keep it going.
Thank
But
you.
I met you, I don't know, it's been maybe 3 years, that pandemic kind of threw my timing off, but we were both panelists on one of Shay Brown's platforms. And then, you invited me on the show. And at the time I was writing my second book, Optimize Your Financial Health. And of course you did a little what others say, a nice little entry on page 1. So I'm proud and I appreciate that. So you've been, like I said, a good influence, and then just what you do, your platform is necessary. So don't give it up. So I just want to say that. But I'm Dr. Wendy Labatt, the financial healer, and people ask me, how did I become a financial healer? And it's a long story, but I'm going to kind of share it. I think I got enough time to do that. I started my entrepreneurial journey almost 4 decades ago. And I'm like, damn, 4 decades. I guess I was about 2 years old back then. And I didn't have any experience in business. I had very limited financial resources, and there was no social media or internet. And the only thing you can do with a cell phone was make an expensive phone call. But, I pursued to do business with corporate America and government agencies. In order to be able to be considered for the big contracts, you had to have, the certain image, which meant, brick and mortar building, employees, carry inventory, and all the overhead that goes with it. And I did all those things, but like I said, my finances were kind of limited. And I was like, dang, right when things got tough, that's when I got my first big contract. But even then, I called, I had the sales on the books, but I didn't have the money in the bank. So I'm like, okay, so I was kind of suffering from, anorexic cash flow, So I'm like, okay, I talked to my mentor. I said, what do I need to do? I was afraid to talk to my clients because I'm scared if I bring something to them about not paying on time, then I might lose the contract. And he said, well, what are the terms of the contract? So I said, well, they're supposed to pay me net 10 days. He said, well, you need to meet with them, explain the situation, and, they'll fix it. And sure enough, I met with them. And like I said, being inexperienced, a rookie entrepreneur, I didn't realize that the purchasing department is who awards the contract, but it's the accounts payable who pays the invoices. And I thought they were talking to each other, but they weren't. And I was scared to, I sent out notices that you need to pay, but I didn't get the response I wanted to, especially with big corporations. They're gonna pay when they want to. But after the meeting, it went well. They started paying on time, sometimes even before time. So I said, okay, this is working pretty good. So I ended up getting with my vendors, because this was a time when being a minority and female owned business allowed you certain opportunities. So I said, look, I'm bringing business to you guys that you normally wouldn't get, because you're not female owned, you're not minority owned, so I need better pricing and better terms. And sure enough, they agreed. So it's like, okay, this business thing is pretty hip. I'm kind of getting the hang of it. So eventually, it all worked out, but eventually I diversified and got into the tax preparation business. So in 2014, when the Affordable Care Act mandated that everyone have health insurance, I expanded that business to include insurance and financial services. So I, of course, I want to be a hypocrite. I brought up everything I was trying to sell my clients, and because they were asking me, well, what do you have? Where's your money? And I could honestly say what I had and where my money was. So about a year later, one of my colleagues, we were talking, he was telling me he had just gone to the doctor and he got diagnosed just from a regular physical with kidney cancer. And I'm like, God, kidney cancer, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm gonna keep you in prayer. But I kind of jokingly said, well, I know you're gonna clock some dollars, because I knew the products that we were selling, a cancer diagnosis would bring you some significant money. And he said, Wendy, I don't have any of that stuff. He said, I barely have the minimum health coverage to meet the mandate. And I'm like, boy, you in the business and you don't have what you need to have, But anyway, in 2017, I was diagnosed with an aggressive form of breast cancer. So, I'm like, nobody in my family has breast cancer. So I went for my regular mammogram. I had the biopsy and found out, I had the cancer. And I chose, the most aggressive form of treatment, because I'm like, I am not going to let cancer take me out. And God already told me when I got the diagnosis that this is not a death sentence. This is just part of a journey that you got to go through. So fortunately, I practiced what I preached, because I was on chemotherapy for a full year, and the cost was over $1.5 million just for the chemotherapy. Then I had 5 surgeries and all kinds of, CAT scans, PET scans, labs, everything that goes with treating that disease. And that came to over $300,000. So I said, thank God, all that was covered with my health insurance. But because I had that supplemental coverage I was selling my clients and bought for myself and thought I'd never have to use, I got, multiple 6-figure tax-free financial shots in the arm. And, it allowed me to focus on my recovery and not worry about money. So I'm like, thank you, Jesus. I thank God I practiced what I preached. And I was good. I was, I said, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, business is flowing, I'm good, I'm in my comfort zone. And God said, no. He said, I brought you through this journey better than when you, went in. And you're going to go on a crusade to empower other people to not let an illness or injury, ruin them financially. You're going to help people get their money right. And that's how the financial cures came into play. It's all spiritually led and being obedient. If it was up to me, I'd still be sitting back, just kind of, resting on my laurels and enjoying, my 30-something years of business, flowing in. But I'm on a whole new path, and I'm thanking the Lord, because not only do I have this business and I'm helping people, just get their money right. I've written, 2 books in my book series, The Financial Cures, and I'm working on book number 3. I've got a TV show, Financial Cures, with Dr. Wendy Labat. I just finished filming season 2, which is about to launch August 25th. It's, global streaming. I'm old school, and they say streaming is like, okay, but I got, folks that are old school too, but we got a website for it if you don't stream. But it's just been, I've been speaking all over the country and a few, foreign countries. And it's just been an awesome experience, just to be able to empower people to, optimize their financial health, to overcome that anorexic income, that obese debt, the spending addictions and all the other financial ills. And I'm just enjoying, where I am today in my life. I just celebrated a birthday. I know Nikita, you said she's a Leo, and I got my milestone birthday, but it's okay. I'm cool with it, because 65 is a new 45. That's what I keep telling myself. So, but I'm just glad, to see you doing well, hang in there with that master's. It'll be over before you know it. Next thing, you'll be going for your doctorate degree, and it's all worth it. It's all worth it.
Thank you. You still have the best financial show that I did. Like, it was so practical and so applicable. I watched that thing like 3 times, and I'm just like, wow. It was just amazing. Just nothing was over the head. It was, and even to the point when I said, what can we do right now? And you jump right into something that if anybody watched that episode, they can jump right into what they can do right now. Like that was one of the best financial shows in my opinion. Nothing against everybody else's, but that was phenomenal. That show.
I'm glad you said that. Look, you took my cue because that's what I was going to say. Your show, Dr. Labat. So thank you for helping out. Was one of the most watched shows.
Oh wow.
Frequently viewed shows on your platform.
Well, I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like the Bible says, make it plain, and you have to. And I've lived, the things that I teach, I know from personal experience. It's not because I got a doctorate degree or anything like that. But another thing I do want to mention, I've defended my doctoral study when I was at that stage of cancer where, I had chemo brain, body was all weak and everything, but I made it through. God sent me through. And then one of the ladies on my committee, she was a breast cancer conqueror, so she could relate. But hey, she was saying when I told her I had cancer, she said, well, don't give up. It's like, I am not giving up. I'm in the final stretch. If anything, you don't give up on me because I'm about to get through this degree. So after I finished, I was able to walk. I finished my chemo. I was able to walk across the stage, get that degree. My family was there, and it was awesome. So hang in there. You'll be waving that degree and throwing that hat up.
Yeah.
And Dr. Labat, I just want to say I thank you personally for doing what you do, because once again, it's so important in our community to have financial literacy and understand the tools that we need to prepare ourselves and our families for the future. There's nothing worse, not knocking anybody. Everybody has situations, occur. We understand that. But it saddens me a lot of times to see that people aren't in a position to be able to do the things that they need to do that are absolutely necessary, taking care of themselves during and after illness and whatever the case may be, and having to do things that they wouldn't necessarily have to do because they're just not financially prepared. So, your service is definitely instrumental to our community and family as a whole, because I can honestly say I know cancer is something that has touched everyone's family. I don't know of anyone who doesn't have that testimony, basically, of, cancer has touched them or their family in some type of way. And so I just want to thank you, Dr. Labat. What you do is amazing. Your story is absolutely powerful. But you say, well, I'm not giving up. I'm in the final stretch. Don't you give up, because I'm here. I'm ready. What you say, I'm ready. So I just need to be ready. Okay.
But there's one, before I go, there's one distinction I do want to make. I talk about financial health, and, people kind of confuse and conflate financial health with financial literacy. Okay. And the difference is, you can be financially literate, but still have poor and sometimes fatal financial health. And I got a lot of clients that came to me that, they knew about money, they were making money, but they didn't know how to handle money. Just like as an individual, you're supposed to eat right, exercise, and do all that, but then you got high blood pressure and diabetes because you're 100 pounds overweight. So, I try to get that mindset triggered to financial health to get you to understand that there are things you can do. And just because you don't make a lot of money don't mean you can't do what you need to do. You can work within your means. And that's what I try to teach people how to do.
I like that. Thank you, Dr. Labat. I'm going to keep that in mind. I'm going to ask people, are you financially healthy? Not only you're literate. We know you can read the information, but you're practicing it. I like that. I absolutely love that. So everybody, I just want to let you all know Dr. Labat, her season 2 reveal of her award-winning global streaming TV show, Financial Cures, with Dr. Wendy Labat is August 25th at 6 p.m. That's Eastern Standard Time. So to view that show, go to thefinancialcures.com for details. And you see it's right here across the screen for easy access, okay? Don't miss it. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Labat, for being here tonight. Mr. Feaster, do you have anything else you want to say to Dr. Labat before she exits?
I already said it. Like, your show was phenomenal. That's it.
Thank
you.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Labat. Now we're going to bring on our next guest, and I know it's someone that Mr. Bowtie Feaster is not expecting. So next guest, are you ready? If you are, let me give you this little drum roll. And come on out here. There we go.
Wow.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, look at here on Let's Talk Family. We are talking family, and just in case you all are not aware, this is born Mr. Sister, Ms. Nikichi Feaster. Take it away, love.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nikichi Feaster. If you've received correspondence regarding the show, then you're familiar with my name. And just to let everyone know, I am his sister. I am not his wife. I'm not the missus. That's not me. So I grew up with this phenomenal individual, and I have numerous stories of how he wasn't always phenomenal to me. But Mr. Feaster has meant so much to me over the course of my life that my son is named after him, which is a funny story in and of itself. I don't know, when I get married, I still don't know if I want him to perform the ceremony or walk me down the aisle. We've always had a bond. It was blurry in the beginning.
Good choice of word.
We've always had a bond. We have always had a bond. And I believe we always will. Many of my life lessons I got from my brother. And I didn't realize what the lesson was when he was teaching it to me. In some cases, he didn't either. But I think one of my favorite stories I just told this weekend. So our father has other kids not by our mother. One of those brothers, who I'm also very close to, I told a story over the weekend because we were all together. And I told him, I said, I don't know if you remember when I first moved to DC, where this brother we're talking about, his name is James, lived. When I first moved to DC, there was a young lady who was friends with you, who I'd become friends with. And we were at the house and we were just outside, and all him and his friends were running around chasing them and beating them up and hitting them and, little girl, little boy stuff, right? And you can hear screams down the street and around the corner, and they're zipping past and back and forth in front of the house. And while all of this is happening, I am walking around slow with my hands in my pockets. Nobody is chasing me. So at one point, one of the young ladies, Keisha, comes up to me. She's out of breath. She's tired of running. She's tired of being chased. And my brother comes running up behind her. And he doesn't go for me. He goes for her. And she looked, she said, why aren't you bothering her? He said, she's no fun. Watch. And he extended his hand to me. And I gave him my hand. And he squeezed the living life out of it. And I stood there like this while he squeezed. He said, see? And she asked me, she said, don't that hurt? I said, yeah, it hurt. I wasn't going to show him that because I grew up with this man. I have numerous stories like that where I didn't know what he was preparing me for. Again, he didn't always know what he was preparing me for. But I think some of the lessons that he gave me were, don't stop. Don't stop fighting. Don't stop trying. Don't stop. Like, and you can't tell from me sitting here, I'm 5 feet, 150 pounds. Ain't that much to me. But when God was done with me, he was done. I don't know how to quit. I don't know how to stop. That goes into my work. It goes into my love. It goes into my relationships. It goes into how I apply things. And that's different from knowing my limits. It's different from not stopping. It's very different. Many of my life lessons I got from this man. And I see him portraying the lessons he taught me in his own life. So it's not like you need to do what I do and not what I do, I say and not what I do. No, he lives the word that he preaches. He lives that word. He lives that life. He makes that attempt. So when it made sense that he would create this show. All we ever known is family. We grew up in the South. We grew up in a very small town. A town so small, if you trace back far enough, everyone is actually related. It's that small. We have one street light, just got a sidewalk like 5-6 years ago. Like, very small. All we know is family. So I'm not at all surprised that he started this venture. And I have been happy to assist him in getting this going in any way that I could.
So I just want to say, everybody who doesn't know, Nikichi does all of the behind the scenes for this show and other different admin things for Mr. Bowtie Feaster's business. Okay, so if you've seen this show in the past, if you've been on this show in the past, you have absolutely been touched in some manner by Nikichi because she holds it down. I'm gonna tell you, I love her. Now this is our thing right here because we have the same communication style. And we really do. We work well together. It was really wonderful working with her to do this, to make sure that this stayed a surprise for Feaster. So she's great. You know, I know she's not going to tell it, so I'm going to tell it. She does a lot of advocacy work. Y'all, she is a very phenomenal person. She's a phenomenal advocate. She does some really great, wonderful, positive things. And in addition to that, working right here with her family so they can both build. It's all about family. And we're talking about family. So this shows right here how important family is. Okay. Okay. We can do everything or anything together. Keep that in mind. Mr. Feaster or Miss Nikichi, do you all have anything left to say?
Well, I'll say this show would not have made it 2 years without her because I was drowning. I was drowning, and she came on board, and I'm gonna tell you, working with me sometimes ain't easy because I just throw stuff out there. Hey, stop, April. Don't do that. Don't co-sign that.
I was about to pull out the pen.
Throw stuff out there. It takes a special kind of person, one, to catch everything, two, know what to throw back, and three, keep me grounded. And truth be told, both of the ladies on the screen have done a phenomenal job because April has not told you she's my business consultant. So along with my friends, so they know that I could be a handful and they do a great job. So this show would not be nowhere close to where it is without you, Nikichi. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Nikichi. Okay, so I just have a few words real quick and then we're going to bring everybody back on. One, I want to absolutely congratulate you for your 2nd anniversary of this show. And can I tell you, it's so funny because I didn't remember that conversation about how the show got started until you said it tonight. I'm like, oh yeah, that is what happened, isn't it? Okay.
Right.
But what I wanted to say is that for me, the importance of family. Now, I asked everyone to talk, a little bit about how they met you. So that's why we were all doing that. And everybody talked about, how they worked their professions related to family. But I just want to say this. For me, family absolutely does transcend bloodline. Okay. I can honestly say, sir, that you are one person who is part of my family. You are part of my tribe. Okay. members of my family who have never met you, never seen you, absolutely know who you are, and ask about you. How is he doing? Because yes, I am the business consultant, and we go back and forth on ideas, on relationship advice, on business advice, and everything else under the sun. And I just want to say I appreciate you. I know the pandemic was rough for everybody, but he is absolutely one of the people who helped me to navigate during that time period and go through that pandemic. Because I didn't necessarily go through it with grace, y'all. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna tell you how it is. So I needed him. You know what I'm saying? To kind of pull my head up sometime and just say, keep your head up, keep going. Okay, it's all right. It's gonna come to an end eventually. So I thank you and I appreciate you for that. And congratulations to you again. This platform is very important. And like all the other guests said, I'm going to mimic, do not give up. We just fine tune things and continue to let them evolve and grow. And we're going to let everybody catch up. That's all we're going to do. We're just going to let everybody catch up. So Nikichi, if you would, I'd like you to go ahead and bring everybody back on screen. Mr. Feaster, we are going to leave the floor open for your comments.
So if I said I was speechless, everybody would be shocked, wouldn't they? Listen, I'm looking at the people that are on the show, and honestly, if you look at the people that's on the show, you can see how important family is. I mean, like April said, and I didn't even think about it like that, but like April said, I have my sister working with me on a show talking about family. I have, Kim on here who has a degree in family. I have Dr. Labat on here who talks about money. And then I have you on here, April, that we're just like you just said, like we're family, like we are family. And so to me, this is shows the foundation of what I'm doing with this show. I didn't want to do what everybody else was doing. I actually want to do what everybody wasn't doing. I wanted to bring people on to talk about things that are going on in family that other people are not talking about that are affecting our families. I truly believe that stronger families make stronger communities. And we all know every community can afford to be stronger, especially over the last 2 years with COVID and everything that's going on. And so this show honestly helped me. I'm a very inquisitive person. So all of my guests I have learned from, every last one of them. And the funny thing is, we sit there and we decide on what we want to talk about. And we back and forth on how we're going to talk about on the show. Because the show is really, it's not scripted, but we build the show and what we're going to talk about. But since I'm such an inquisitive person, we have never completed the questions that were sent out for the show. And that's one of the things that I love about it, because it's about where we are and what we're going on. The show that I did for Mother's Day with Constance and her daughter, oh my gosh, like they were so transparent and just talked about the relationship that mothers have with their daughters, because a lot of them are not healthy. A lot of them are not strong. A lot of them are bad. And so they got on board and they just talked about what they went through and how it went through its changes. And mom talked about how she started and then getting married, and then how it affected her daughter. And at the end of it, we was like, ain't none of this what we were talking about that we was going to say on the show. And that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. I wanted everybody to feel free to come on the show and be able to talk about some things that a lot of other people wasn't talking about. We talked about sickle cell, children with incarcerated parents, finance. We talked about mental health. I had one lady on here find out that her husband and his girlfriend was plotting to kill her. Like, it's just a mess out there, y'all. It's really a mess. And if people don't have a platform to talk about it and educate everybody else, then what we do is we have the problem over here, and everybody think they're by themselves. And so that's what the show was about. And y'all have inspired me to keep going. Like I said, I was just wrestling with this. Me and Nikita have been talking about this all month, for at least a month, about me canceling the show. My master's program has really got me focusing in on where I'm spending my time. And, I've decided that I'm not going to cancel the show. I'm just going to redefine it so that it will be better. It will be more beneficial. And I don't even know what it's going to be, tell you the truth, because I'm still trying to figure it out. I'll know in January when we start up again. That's all I know. Thank you that all have come on board, and thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for even the shows that you've done, because your shows have been very informative. April, even your show, which nobody has seen because it's in the archives, and I think I'm going to keep it in the archives. That show was so bad.
Now, wait a minute. Clarify, it wasn't my fault that the show was bad. We were just a hot mess because it was the first one and we were just getting started.
It was like I said at the beginning. We was like, let's do the show. Okay, what we're going to talk about? Yeah. And so, it was a mess. It was a mess. But, it birthed, honestly, it was still, even though it was a mess, it was still what I wanted. It was still set up to where we would just come on here and talk about things that affect family. So that's something I'm going to continue on. That's something I'll continue to do. I'm very passionate about it. So again, I can say it 100 million times. So I'm just going to say it one more time. Thank you for all of you being a part of this. Thank you for everybody that's been along in this journey. And thank you. I said I'm going to say it one more time, so I'm going to stop.
It's all right. We appreciate you. We appreciate you having this platform that allows us to come on here and talk about things that are important to us, things that are important to family, things that are important for our businesses that will help the community and the family. So we appreciate you for that. Now, what I want to do is leave with this charge to everyone, because we are talking about family. Life is short, everyone. So when we leave here today, for the panel members, for the audience, everyone, pick up the phone and call someone and just let them know that you are thinking about them today. Don't ask them for anything. Don't ask them to buy anything. Don't ask them to come to anything. Don't ask them to participate in anything. Literally just call them and see how they're doing and check on them. And that's family, whether it's your blood family or the family that you have created and made your family over the years. Just reach out and call someone. And that's all we have this evening. And like you said, we'll be back in January with Let's Talk Family Reinvented. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Happy 2nd anniversary. You all have a great evening.
Happy 2nd anniversary.